What if you could get 6 years of hard-won trading lessons crammed into the next 5 minutes? Seriously, we're about to break down the entire journey of a trader named TJR, from a broke college student to a full-time pro. He's distilled it all into one powerful framework that could save you years of pain. Let's see how he did it.
Okay, first things first, let's just rip the Band-Aid off with a pretty brutal fact. This number, 98%, that's the percentage of traders who ultimately fail. They lose their money and they quit. It's a staggering number.
So that begs the obvious question, right? Why? What on earth are the 2% doing that the 98% aren't? Well, according to TJR, it's because almost everyone is trying to climb the ladder of success completely upside down. They are focusing on entirely the wrong things. So if that's the wrong way, what's the right way?
TJR's solution, the absolute core of his 6 years of learning, is this simple but really powerful pyramid. It's built on just 3 fundamental skills, and mastering them in the right order is what separates the winners from the losers.
And here it is, the trader's pyramid. Look at that base. The massive, absolute foundation of everything is your mindset. Then, the middle structure holding it all up is your risk management. And way up at the tiny little top, the peak, that's your strategy. Now, most people are obsessed with the peak, but without that base, the whole thing just crumbles. So let's break it down, starting with the most important part. All right, we're starting at the bottom, at the foundation of the pyramid. And TGR says this is, without a doubt, the hardest but most critical skill to master: your own psychology. Get this right, and everything else actually becomes possible. So what's the biggest hurdle? It's that our own human nature is basically wired to work against us in trading. We have this incredibly strong emotional connection to money. It physically hurts to lose it, and man, it feels amazing to make. And those emotional swings, they are a trader's absolute worst enemy. TJR has a perfect analogy for this. He says if you feel that crazy rush of excitement on a win and that sinking feeling in your gut on a loss, you're not actually trading. You're gambling. You're just sitting at a casino table, and we all know who always wins there in the long run. The goal is to shift from that gambler's mindset to a trader's mindset. So how in the world do you do that? How do you break that emotional connection? Well, first, start on a demo account. Paper trading. Build the skill without any of the risk. Then, and this is crucial, never ever trade with money you need for rent or groceries. Instead, you slowly build a separate fund, an amount you are 100% mentally prepared to lose. That's what lets you see the money for what it really is. It's just a tool for the job, not your lifeline. Okay, once that emotional foundation is solid, you need a structure on top to protect it. And that brings us to the next layer of the pyramid: risk management. And this isn't about getting rich quick. It's all about survival. TJR has this personal story that is just, wow. He once turned an account from $10,000 into $112,000 in just a couple of days. You'd think that's a huge win, right? Nope. He says it was a total disaster because it taught him terrible habits. The very next day, using that same reckless approach, he lost every single penny. And this is how you avoid a catastrophe like that. You use strict, unemotional rules. The professional standard, the golden rule, is to risk just 1 to 3% of your total account on any single trade. That's it. That way, one loss, or even a whole string of losses, doesn't wipe you out. This is the rule that lets you live to trade another day. And that really gets to the heart of risk management. The goal isn't to hit one massive home run. It's about protecting your capital so that you can show up tomorrow and next week and next year. Longevity. That is the entire game. Okay, now and only now that the foundation and the structure are solid, do we finally get to the peak of the pyramid: strategy. And this is the great irony, because this is where almost every single beginner starts, and it's a massive, massive trap. TJR calls this the overeducation cycle. And you know exactly what this is. It's that endless black hole of YouTube videos looking for the secret indicator, the magic strategy that has a 100% win rate. But his conclusion after 6 years is blunt. That magic key does not exist, and chasing it is the fastest way to make sure you never become profitable. He makes this point with a brilliant analogy. Imagine 2 people. One person watches 1,000 hours of basketball training videos. The other person spends those 1,000 hours on an actual court, just shooting and dribbling. At the end of it all, who's the better player? I mean, come on, it's not even a contest, right? And that's the key takeaway right there. You have to stop consuming and start doing. You probably already have enough strategic knowledge to get started. You get better not by watching one more video, but by actually trading, by putting in the reps, by backtesting your ideas, and by building real muscle memory in the markets.
So we've got our pyramid: mindset, risk management, and strategy. But there's one final lesson that kind of acts like the mortar holding all these bricks together. It's all about protecting that mindset you worked so hard to build.
You've probably heard that old saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Well, TJR argues that for a trader in the age of social media, it's a lot worse than that. It's the destroyer of your focus and all your progress. His advice here is, well, it's pretty radical, but it's essential. Unfollow every other trader on social media. Just do it. Stop watching their highlight reels of massive wins. The social media algorithm always shows you the crazy wins, never the losses. It creates this totally distorted reality that just makes you feel like you're failing. So instead, you have to focus inward. Journal your trades. Track your progress. And the final takeaway is simple, but you gotta hear it. Everyone learns at a different pace. Your buddy might find success in 6 months. It might take you 2 years. And that is perfectly okay. Your journey is your own, and the only person you should be competing against is the person you were yesterday. So there you have it, 6 years of trading wisdom all boiled down into one simple pyramid. But before you go, just think about this for a second. Yeah, this applies to trading, but where else in your life are you doing this? Learning an instrument, starting a business, getting in shape. Where are you obsessing over the fancy strategies at the peak while totally ignoring the mindset and the discipline that make up the real foundation?